Hi, and welcome to this edition of Boardman Township Today. I'm Mitchell Dunham for Boardman Schools Television Network. In this first episode, I'm joined by our guest, Mr. Bill Light, Fiscal Officer for Boardman Township. Today's program will provide an overview for the financial status of Boardman Township. We are pleased to welcome Mr. Light. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Mr. Light, what do you have for our viewers today?
Well, I thought we would talk a little bit about the two levies that are on the ballot for Boardman Township this year, and also looking at the future, the next 5 years, the capital equipment expenditures that the township is going to be looking to make. It's part of our annual 5-year plan. So, but the levies are on the ballot next month, and those are pretty important to Boardman Township.
Can you tell us a little more about these levies?
Sure. There are two levies that are on the ballot. Both of them are special levies. One is for 7/10 of a mill, and the other one is 3 mills. The 7/10 of a mill, both of these were passed in 1976 originally. The 7/10 of a mill is going to bring in somewhere in the vicinity of $280,000. The 3 mill levy is going to bring in somewhere in the vicinity of, I have to cheat and look. $1,320,000. Both of these levies are special levies, which mean that they have to be voted on every 5 years by the people of Boardman Township. And they've already been put into our budget. It's pretty important that we get these passed because it's part of our funding process. The difference between a continuing levy and a special levy is if people vote for a continuing levy, it will live forever. It collects current dollars based on the millage. And in today's dollars, a 3 mill levy would generate almost $3 million. And a 7/10 of a mill levy would generate about $700,000. A special levy will collect only 3/10 of a mill based on the millage in the year that it was passed. So we're talking about 7/10 of a mill in 1976 dollars. So when this was originally passed, it generated the $260,000. And that's all we get. If it were in today's dollars, it would be close to $700,000, almost 2.25 times that. The 3 mill levy would generate almost $3 million a year, and in the special arena, we only get $1.3 million. And there's always been a large discussion amongst our trustees as to whether or not we should try and have the community replace these levies. And a replacement says you can take the 7/10 off and the $260,000 and put the 7/10 on, and it would generate the $700,000. So, but what it would do is it would raise taxes, and we've always been against raising taxes. We only do it when it's an absolute last-ditch effort, and right now we're okay. We're okay probably through 2018. Beyond that, I don't know what's going to happen. We've lost over $2 million in state funding over the last 5 years, and what we've done in Boardman Township is learn to live with that. We've done some tremendous things with joint ventures with outside parties. We buy salt with other communities, including the county. We just started 2 years ago a new 911 system, and it's going to be county-wide here before too long. So we've done all the effective things that we can do. There's a point in time where you run out of quality things that you can do that make sense. So we may be back before the voters because we're no different than anybody else, any other household. Your expenses go up, and you need your income to go up commensurate to it, or make cuts. Just take your dad. If his income doesn't go up and his expenses go up, he can either go get a second job, which nobody wants him to do, so he can cut your allowance and save money. Oh yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens in real life. And his cutting your allowance is akin to me saying to the police department, I'm cutting your allowance. You can't spend as much. And so he says, well, I like to go to movies twice a week. Well, now you can only go once a week. They want to go to training twice a month. Now they can only go to training once a month. It takes away from the quality. And when the quality suffers, the community suffers. So we like to stay on top of that. Okay? And that's why we do this 5-year plan. Moving on into the 5-year plan, we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.8 million of equipment that we're going to need to purchase over the next 5 years. And that's in all departments. The road department is looking at almost a $900,000 budget. And if you just sit back and look, we need a new dump truck. That dump truck does several things. I mean, it's on the road year-round. In the winter, it plows snow and lays down salt. In the summer, it may haul asphalt for doing the spot paving that the township is capable of doing. It serves numerous needs. We need a new sweeper. You see in the beginning of the year, in January, or in March and April, the streets, they sweep off all the excess slag that was put down during the winter. We used to have two. We have one that is not operational. We need a new one. They're more efficient, they do a better job, they do it faster, so there's a lot of reason to do that. We also need a vac truck, and that's to clean out the sewers and the manholes. And the reason we need that is they get clogged. I mean, it's just like some of this gravel and stuff gets in there, branches get in there. You need to suck that out, otherwise the water can't flow and it ends up in people's basements. Mm-hmm. And then there's a whole bunch of problems related to that. So, we need that in the road department. In the police department, they have a little bit of opportunity because crime pays. When we catch the bad guys, we get to keep their money and their goods. So we get a law enforcement trust, and we can buy cars pretty much on a regular basis. We try and keep our police cars running for 130 to 150,000 miles. That's more than any vehicle, most of the vehicles in Boardman Township, the privately owned ones. And these are on the road 24/7 and 365 days a year. So we wear those out. So we replace them at a rate of 5 per year, plus our unmarked cars, we replace 2 per year. And that's the biggest challenge that we have in the police department, although now with all of the social issues that we've faced in the last 24 months, we now have to look at the possibility of buying body armor, which is a little bit stronger than the vest that the police officers wear, because police are getting shot more often now. We need body cameras and dash cameras because of all the little incidents that happen. We have to protect our police officers. So those kinds of things are very important to us. Radio communication in the police department is very, very important. You don't want a police officer in trouble in an area where he can't transmit and tell people he needs trouble. So another area, a very important issue to the fire department or the police department. They're sitting at about a $250,000 requirement over the next year. Then we can move on to the fire department. And the fire department, they have a fire truck that is over 20 years old. We're going to have to replace that truck. And that truck is going to be about $450,000. And what happens is, if we don't replace it, our insurance rating goes up, and as a township. And there's a lot of factors that are involved in that, but one of the things is that you're rolling stock. If you have an old truck, it's not dependable. You can't get to the fires. You may not get to the fires. It may break down. It may not function. You know, there's a whole row of issues that it may not do. We make it do. But if our ISO rating goes up, the property insurance for the township, for your mom and dad, aunts and uncles, everyone, it goes up. The Southern Park Mall goes up. So it's very important that we as a township protect our properties at the lowest rates. In order to do that, we have to keep our rolling stock new. Then we move on to, you know, at Center Middle School, we just concluded a property swap. And I think maybe most people have heard about it, but it's one of those situations where Boardman Township held property and Center Middle held property. And what Center Middle needed was a bus garage. And it wasn't practical to use the property at Center Middle to create a bus garage and park all the buses that Boardman Township owns. And I think they own somewhere around 50 buses to park over there. It wasn't practical. So we had property that was sort of tucked away off of Washington Boulevard out near the township center, that we needed a new fire station. And a new fire station isn't practical there. We needed to be close to the center of Boardman Township where we can get access northeast, south, and west. So what we did was we swapped that property with the schools. Township and the schools swapped property. Now we're going to build a fire station at Center Middle. And that process is pretty involved. You know, you have to get a design on the building, then you have to get an estimate on what it's going to cost, then you have to go out to bid, and then you got this construction going. So we're in the process now where we have the construction design and we have the construction bid. Now, the bids are coming in somewhere around $4.5 million, estimated to build what we need. Now, that's without taking a knife to it and cutting. We can't afford, this township can't afford a $5 million fire station. Just can't do it. So we're going to have to make some adjustments and some changes. And that's going to come down the road in the near future. The schools have to move out of their property on McClurg Road, they're going to move over to the property off of Washington Boulevard. They're going to be fine. Right now, there's a joint agreement where that's very close to the township. They're buying their fuel from Boardman Township. So it's a matter of them not having to put in a gas station, so to speak, at their new facility. It's just coming all out of Boardman Township. So those are the things that we're looking at in the next 5 years. The complexion of Boardman isn't going to change other than a new fire station across from the Southern Park Mall. That's the only thing that is going to be ground up new that people can look at. The rest of it is there's going to be a road truck going, there's going to be a road vac truck going, there's going to be a sweeper going. Those are everything that everybody sees now. There's going to be police cars operating. Nobody will know the difference other than the model changes maybe, but a police car is a police car, and in Boardman they're blue and white, and you don't see any difference one to the other. You know, and so I think you may see a new fire truck, but I can't tell a 1980 versus a 2015. I don't know the difference. I know it's a fire truck because it's red. So that's about where we stand, and that's as far as I get into the departments. When we give them the money, then they do with it and buy the equipment that they need. And that allocation for equipment is part of the 5-year plan. And that starts with our trustees. Starts with a budget. We project out how much money we think we're going to get in the next 5 years. And I keep telling them we can only rely on the 3 years for sure. And based on those numbers, the trustees then look at the necessity. And from the necessity, they rank each department, each piece of equipment. We don't try and ignore any one department. We try and get some into each department. So that's where we are. And I'm sure that, you know, it sounds a little overwhelming, but I think we're going to make it.
Who exactly determines who's going to get the equipment and who gets it first?
Well, the trustees, if I give them the number of, let's say, $300,000 a year, and they come back, then they make the decision based on the requirements. The fire truck, because it affects every property owner in Boardman, is going to be a high priority. Now, we have a couple of different options to do that. We can pay for it outright or we can finance it. Paying for it outright is the smart thing to do because then you don't pay any interest. But if you can't afford that, then you have to look at what kind of money you can allocate to pay it off in a 5-year plan. So there's a whole bunch of options that we have, and I work closely with the trustees to make sure that we have everything that we need to meet the needs of Boardman Township and its residents and businesses. So I think that's where we are for today. I hope everyone understands it's not dire, but boy, we better pass those levies. Now you got to say that again. You got to tell them when we're done, you tell them that we're passing that levy.
Thanks, Mr. Light, for sharing with our viewers a general overview of the financial operation of Boardman Township. Through wise management of our monies and careful oversight, we can see the township remains fiscally sound. We look forward to seeing you again next month. For BSTN, this is Mitchell Dunham. Keep striving for excellence. And don't forget to get out there and vote for Boardman Township and Boardman Schools.